Since the dawn of time, gym bros have been employing a push-pull legs split to try and put on as much muscle as possible. Ask any gym bro you know what their first split was, and I almost guarantee it was some form of push-pull legs. It has been a staple in the gym community for time immemorial. However, most of the time, when you're talking about push-pull legs, you're talking specifically about bodybuilding. Well, the good people at Calgary Barbell wanted to find out if push-pull legs could work for powerlifting. And since I am a fan of Calgary Barbell and I'm a fan of testing programs, today I want to walk you through the Calgary Barbell push-pull legs for powerlifters, let you know how I did with it, and let you know if it is a decent to good program that you should try out. First things first, a quick overview of the program. It will run you 14 weeks of training. That means you got 3 overloading blocks of 4 weeks with 2 deload weeks in the middle for a grand total of 14 weeks. So just off the bat, you're going to have to commit yourself to 14 weeks of training. Like we said, this is a push-pull legs program, but you are training on 4 days of the week. So you go push, pull, an intermediate potpourri day, and then legs. That's the way that it's set up. You can mix and match those a little bit, which is what I did, but that is a general microcycle. Now, the first thing that you may be asking yourself is how in the world are we going to fit a powerlifting style to push-pull legs? Because as powerlifters, it is important that our big 3 lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, go up. That makes powerlifters happy. That makes us win competitions. We always want to be focused on, well, how is this program going to facilitate my squat, my bench, and my deadlift? This is pretty simple. Bench on push day, squat on legs day, deadlift on pull day. However, there's a little bit of nuance in there that I want to walk you through. This program seems to be in 2 camps where it wants you to focus on obviously your big 3 lifts, but it also wants you to focus on your accessories. Now, I would call this a good, well-executed powerlifting program. Some people would call this power building. I'm of the opinion that if it's a powerlifting program, you should also have emphasis on muscle building and accessory work. Maybe I'm gonna be strung up in the streets for that, but this is just a powerlifting program that takes a structure traditionally seen in bodybuilding. So don't you worry, you are still gonna be able to put kilos on your total while also being able to build muscle. Let's discuss a little bit about our big 3 lifts in our block to block structure and how Calgary Barbell has set it up to progress. Block number 1 is going to be singles with back offsets. I found this block to be incredibly beneficial coming off of a peaking program. The program that I had just finished was more focused on meet prep. It was peaking me into a meet. I was very sensitized to singles, doubles, high intensity work. So being able to transition to more volume-based stuff while also still having that single really helped me. And I thought that that was a great way to start. So you usually start with a single, ranging in intensity between 85 and 96%, I think, depending on the lift. You'll also do your back off work. Usually it was 3 sets of 4, if I'm remembering correctly, but that fluctuates as well, and you have an ascending RPE scale. I think it's a really good introductory block. It doesn't start you off with a ton of intensity or a ton of volume, but it helps you resensitize to maybe a different level of training if you've been used to peaking style or higher intensity training. Then we get into block 2, which is more the meat and potatoes of how they want to progress this movement. It's ascending sets. So in block 2, over a 4-week span, you're going to ascend with triples. So a decent level of volume for a powerlifter, not a ton of volume if you are a bodybuilder, but triples are, what I would say is decent volume. Once we start getting to 5s and 6s, that's a lot of volume for a powerlifter. So 3s, I really like. And we're using a concept called ascending RPE sets. Traditionally, you would usually start with your heaviest work and then you do your back offs. Not a ton wrong with that. I think that that style of training can work really well. I have had a lot of fun with this style of training, meaning we start, let's say, at an RPE 6 with our triple. We go in, we do our RPE 6, then we jump to an RPE 7 for our next set, and we cap it off with an RPE 8. This is not exactly what the program says. I'm just giving you an example. The reason that I really like this is as you go in and you pick your RPE 6, depending on where you think you should be percentage-wise, depending on how you're feeling that day, you can really dial in your training intensity between set 1 and set 2. Because now you have an opportunity to really ask yourself, was this really an RPE 6? And Is this really going to be an RPE 7? I really enjoyed the ascending sets, and I got a ton out of them because I was really able to dial in my intensity modification for each lift. And in our final block, we get more ascending sets, but now we're doing them in doubles. So it's kind of the best of both worlds between higher intensity work, because we are in the 2 rep range, so we can really start to push that intensity, and more of the volume style work, because we are still doing bench press. We're doing 4 sets, deadlifts and squats, we're doing 3. So there's a decent level of both. We're trying to have our cake and eat it too. Some may say that that doesn't work, and I think oftentimes you can get into trouble doing that, but I think this program really walks the line of being able to get you your traditional powerlifting work, your squat, your bench, and your deadlift at high intensity, while also helping you build muscle, not just through the big 3 lifts, but also with the accessory work that it offers. So I really thought that going from triples with ascending sets to then going to doubles really hit the nail on the head. I really enjoyed the way that they programmed the big 3 lifts from block to block. However, as we know, a program is not just about the big 3. It is also about accessories, especially a program like this, which touts itself to be push-pull legs. In my mind, that means a little bit more bodybuilding style stuff. So let's talk about how the program structured its accessories. So there's not a ton of accessory variation throughout this program. You're pretty much sticking to some core movements. There's a little bit of in and out of, maybe a tricep rope push down versus a cable push down, but the structure remains the same. Where we get some diversity is that it's not just 3x10 at RPE 8, which is, in my head, a sign of lazy programming. If you're running across programs that are just giving you that blah prescription of rep range and RPE for every single accessory movement you're doing, we can do a little bit better. And so what I find really cool about this program and its accessory movement specifically is that there's also a use of ascending sets like we discussed with the primary movements, and there's also some bodybuilding tactics like myo reps and drop sets that are thrown in to keep the accessories fresh. One of the biggest problems that powerlifters have today specifically is sandbagging their accessory movements. We put so much effort into our squat, our bench, and our deadlift, which is great. However, we are leaving muscle gain and strength on the table because we are not putting that same effort into accessory movements. And the reason that I think that is because we program them so boring. However, utilizing myo reps, utilizing drop sets, utilizing ascending sets, ways to zhuzh up the accessory movements are going to help you stay mentally locked in and also help you put forth great effort. That's at least how I found it, and I think that you will find it the same way. I had a fresh approach to my accessory movements, and I got a ton more out of them doing it this way. Finally, let's discuss what I call the potpourri day, because if you're doing your math correctly, you realize push-pull legs is 3, but we're training 4 days a week. So what really is going on that 3rd training day? Well, it can be pretty much whatever you want. The way that the program is set up is that you're doing a secondary bench press movement, so you're getting 2 times bench press frequency, which I think is pretty much the bare minimum for almost everyone in powerlifting. And then you're doing a rotating squat or deadlift accessory between RDLs, pause squats. I think there was some pin squats in there as well, if I remember correctly. If you are focused on just one style of movement, like me, for example, I wanted to focus more so on my deadlift because it lags behind my squat and I was dealing with some knee pain. I kept RDLs as my main secondary deadlift movement throughout the whole program. The program writes in some rotation, but you do not have to follow that completely. If you want to focus on your squat, if you want to focus on your deadlift, you have the freedom to do that. The accessory movements can also range. So I used a lot of shoulder accessories on this day because I wanted to also bring up my lagging shoulders. They've always been a problem for me. So I thought, let me throw an extra exercise or 2 of shoulders on this day because it doesn't really eat into my recovery and it's going to help me push my shoulders a little bit further. A few things that you want to consider before you run this program, because like I always say, there is no perfect program for everyone at all times. So if you have different goals, this program may not be best for you. One of the big issues that you may run into on this program is a lack of frequency of these movements. Like I said, you're only benching twice a week, you're squatting once a week. For me, maybe once every 2 weeks is twice every 2 weeks. And you're deadlifting 2 times. The frequency's good. It works for me. I'm someone who gets away with a little bit less frequency. If you're a lighter weight lifter, if you're a female lifter, oftentimes these are the people that need a lot more touches. They can recover better. They need more prep and technique work. This would be a situation where I would say maybe we want to focus on a pure powerlifting program in which we bench 4 times a week. We squat 2 or 3 times a week and we deadlift 1 or 2 times a week. You have to know what you're getting into so that you don't waste 14 weeks. Obviously, you're still going to get something out of this program if you run it, but we want to try and optimize, not influencer optimize, but actually optimize your training so that you're getting the most out of it. So if you know that you're someone who needs a lot of frequency, maybe pump the brakes on this one and rotate it in at a later date. I really enjoyed this program. I ran it on a cut. I'm on a calorie deficit right now, and I didn't feel any adverse recovery effects. I think that it can be run in any nutritional context. It is intelligently designed. The people at Calgary Barbell, they know what they're talking about. All the people that work at Calgary Barbell are excellent. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I have learned so much from them, and I really enjoy the way that they program. So I cannot say enough good things about it. I really think that if you want to focus both on your muscle building, your strength in the big 3 lifts, this is a program that's going to try and toe the line between both and get you where you want to be. So I really do recommend it. That's all I have for you today, folks. If you run this program, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience with it. If this program really wasn't what you're looking for, click on this video right here and watch another one of my program reviews to find something that's going to help you get stronger. Thank you so much for watching today. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Get strong and stay strong.